Somebody please explain to me why I just filmed this whole introduction before I recognized it wasn't recording properly. I hope y'all are praying, lighting candles, burning sage for me. I hope y'all have me in mind, because your girl's going through it. But anyway, it is officially the 4th episode of another Black Girl podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate y'all tuning back in. In total, we have over 100 streams. So that's great. Thanks for being here. I'm glad to spend this time with you. So, I'm sorry if y'all hear Macy. It's hot and your girl's going through it. My mom's knocking on my door. Yes, Mom. Something like that. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on? Okay. She said she's gonna tell me later, so you know what? Let's just get into it. This is another Black Girl podcast. As my mom screams in the back. This is another Black Girl podcast. This is my life. We're doing our best. We're doing our best. Another Black Girl podcast. Yes. If you don't know already, I'm gonna plug my socials here. My Instagram is another BGI. My Twitter is another BGT. And then if you go on Facebook and search another Black Girl, I think it's podcast, it should come up. For today's episode, I was really trying not to talk about it. I was trying, but you know, this whole Meg Thee Stallion thing has really bothered me. Feel me? Like, coming from an event with the satanic Kardashian household, specifically Kylie, Meg and Tory Lanez were riding in the car. Tory Lanez, some kind of altercation took place and he wound up shooting her in the foot. There are videos on TMZ. There are statements made, unofficial statements made by like Meg Thee Stallion, saying that she went to the hospital, saying that she went to surgery, but a lot has happened. And it just doesn't sit right with me. First of all, it doesn't sit right with me because Meg Thee Stallion lost her father, her mother, and her grandmother. And she lost like her mom and her grandma in 2019, I believe. She lost them and she paid for their funerals, to my knowledge, and she did it all while she was touring internationally and was in college. And you know, like Meg Thee Stallion being a Black woman on both sides. As a Black woman, she's been a target for a while. There was a point in which I think it was released that she had a 2.5 GPA. I believe it was early 2020 or late 2019. And Twitter jumped on her. Like, she didn't just bury her mother and her grandmother while touring and doing her best to get her degree. And I think it was social work. The bar is set so high for Black women. And it's like, even when sometimes we do our best, it's not good enough. How many other people in the industry buried their mom and grandmother in the same year, paid for the funerals, I believe, and was in school while touring? And then after that, she went toe-to-toe in court with 1501, which is a record label that is, to my knowledge and understanding, like a very patriarchal record label. And she signed a contract in which she was unjustly bound and didn't make as much money as she should have based off of her music. And again, all of Twitter attacked her and was like, yeah, but who doesn't read their contracts? Like, first of all, you mean to tell me every time Apple updates let me not curse. Every time Apple updates their phones or computers or software, Every time Twitter and Facebook, Tumblr, Reddit, whatever, goes through some changes, you mean to tell me you read all of those terms and conditions? Do you absolutely mean to tell me that you read all the terms and conditions? Because if you say yes, or if you're thinking that you do right now, you're probably lying. I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably lying. And it's like, even before we would take those tests, like the first step would be read the directions. But how many of y'all actually did it? How many of y'all? Show of hands. All right then. Like, I understand it's a contract. And it's like, as a new artist, you don't always have the money for an entertainment lawyer, you know? But you know, Twitter attacked her yet again for being a young black woman. And I'm not saying they attacked her explicitly for being a young black woman, but I mean, the punishments that black women are subjected to are much more rigorous than what our other counterparts might have to face. So now the latest with Meg Thee Stallion after being shot in the foot by her, you know, her little boo or whatever. Like, first of all, there's that trauma of like, your little man during a dispute pulling out a gun. And then in addition, like, not only does he pull out a gun, he fires it in your direction and actually aims it at you and hits you. Not fatally, but like in the foot. Like, there was a video of her limping out of the vehicle where Tori was like face down and she was like hobbling. And you could see like that she was leaving blood on the street, which is crazy to me, you know? Like, in a relationship, you deserve to be safe. And usually, black women aren't granted those amenities as often. That's all I'm saying. Black women aren't granted these amenities as often as our counterparts. You know, like black men, usually they'll say things on social media like, oh, find a woman, not saying it's specifically a black woman that they're looking for, but when they are, they'll say things like, ladies, be his peace. As a black woman in a relationship, I don't know how I am supposed to provide something that this man, woman, or non-binary individual needs to find within themselves. How does one provide? I understand creating and fostering a peaceful environment for our relationship to exist in, but to physically be his peace, to put that kind of task on a woman, it's unrealistic and it's unfair. Because what about all of the things that she might be going through? What about all the things that she's relegated and subjected to within the relationship and in the world? And both simultaneously. How do you say be somebody's peace in a world that grants you none? So, Meg Thee Stallion was shot in the foot and it immediately turned into a joke. Like, immediately. It was really nuts to me because it didn't make sense. For me, when I heard that, and when I heard her statement saying that she was intentionally shot and she was not arrested, but in fact the police drove her to the hospital. First of all, that sounds traumatic as well, on top of all of the other, you're with your boo thing, he points a gun at you and actually fires it and causes you bodily harm, not fatal harm, but bodily harm. And then of all groups of people, the police have to drive you to the hospital. That sounds like layers and layers and layers of trauma accumulating that she'll have to work through farther down the road. But immediately, some of Twitter and some of black Twitter, specifically the cisgendered heterosexual men of Twitter, made it a joke. A lot of tweets I saw were like, oh, this is what we're doing to hot girls this summer. We're keeping this energy. We're shooting bitches all summer. But these are the queens and women that you want to be with and protect. How is this woman who has been uplifted and transformed into such a sex symbol that you lust after and masturbate to, suddenly the target of all conceived violence? The way that Black men have dealt with this situation, granted, we don't know all of the details, but the way that I've seen some Black men speak about the situation and make it a joke or target their violence shows me that to some Black men, Black women are good for sex and not really much else. Unless it's the short end of the stick or the butt of the joke or the target of their violence. And speaking about jokes and or memification, because there were also memes made with Meg, the Stallion, and Tory also poking fun at and making jokes about the situation that was not funny. It just brings me back to the memification of Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was shot while at home. The officers that shot her have not been arrested. And when her mother came in contact with the police, she went to the hospital because she believed her daughter was there. Then she, hours later, was brought to the precinct and questioned like her daughter had committed a crime. And then after said interrogation, told her mother that she was still at the scene of the crime. And in watching one of those interviews, Taylor's mom was like, I knew what had happened as soon as they said that, but I just didn't want to believe it. And that hurt me and shook me to my core, because I could not imagine being Taylor's mother at that present moment. But Breonna Taylor has been at the other end of the binary. George Floyd was the male side of the binary. Breonna Taylor was the female side of the binary. And somehow George Floyd saw more justice. It felt as if George was uplifted and Breonna was simply forgotten. Like so many other Black women who have been disappeared or trafficked or murdered by police and or members and forces in our own communities. And that's what hurts. So Breonna Taylor, Breonna, you deserve better. You deserve better than what this country and your people are giving you right now. You deserve better. You deserve better than being just a hashtag or a statistic. You deserve justice. To all of my Black women listening, all my Black women and femmes, because we're not exclusionary here. To all of the Black women and femmes that stand at this difficult road of intersection between race and gender. First of all, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But second of all, I love you. Most importantly, I love you. In a world that acts like they don't see us, we know we exist, and that's what makes all the difference. Black women and femmes, I love you. And to the femmes that are erased because of whatever prejudiced, cisgendered, heteronormative Black women might have, I am so sorry. And I see you and I love you. And it is my utmost hope and wish that you receive all of the love and light that you deserve. So to all my Black girls out there, you are what this country has to offer. Your culture, your tenacity, your love, your kindness, your forgiveness, the magic in your walk, your talk, your hair, your hips, your smile, the effervescence of your spirit. You are top shelf, and you're what this country has to offer. And that's it. Full stop. You are enough. Period. Yes. So, now with this next segment, we're going to move on to affirmations. Thanks for being here, and stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. In preparation for November 3rd, I just wanted to take a minute to talk to y'all about Ballot Ready. Previously, when I voted, especially like one of the first few times, there was a whole lot of names on there. I recognized some, I didn't recognize others, and a whole lot of bubbles, and I was freaking confused. BallotReady.org is a great forum for prepping for elections and voting, especially. On this website, you can compare candidates based on their stances on issues, their biographies, endorsements, and then you can save your choices to use whether you vote by mail or in the voting booth. You can even request your absentee ballot or make a plan to vote earlier on election day. This election matters. Make sure you have a plan to vote and remain informed. So again, go to ballotready.org and enter your address to make your plan to vote and remain informed. Because if y'all know me, as I'm sure you do, I don't like what's going on in the White House right now. And we got to get this man out. So, if you agree, if you don't, whatever. But it is our right to vote, so we might as well exercise it. So this has been an advertisement in part of a charitable initiative in partnership with Ballot Ready. I'm not monetizing off of it in any way, but I just want y'all to remain informed. I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I think this week's affirmation is going to be that I am a life-bearing vessel. But in wake of COVID and everything else that's going on, life is fleeting. And since we have nothing else to compare it to, you end up taking life for granted. We are life-bearing vessels. And in that life, there is breath, there is light, there is inspiration. In each breath we draw in just a little bit more of an ability to stand another day, another hour, another second, another minute. We are life-bearing vessels. And our purpose here on this earth, in this life, in our families, or in our chosen families, our purpose might be, it just might be, to connect with others and to inspire the life in them. Our purpose might be to bring life to those who might not be cognizant of the fact that they are in fact alive. So, with that being said, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so grateful for your presence here on the 4th episode of another Black Girl podcast. This podcast is nothing without you. So, stay tuned for the 5th episode. And like I said, follow me on Twitter, another BGT. Follow me on Instagram, another BGI. And if you type into Facebook, another Black Girl podcast, you can follow the page. Thank you so much for being here. I think that's it. I appreciate y'all, like I said. And I'm about to catch y'all next week on another Black Girl podcast. This is another Black Girl podcast. We're doing our best to make it last. This is another Black girl. We're doing our best. We doing our best. That's all we could do. Like, another Black Girl podcast. Love y'all.